Hey there, Craft Tuts followers. My name is Kelly Johnson, and I'm going to be teaching you how to join in new yarn into your knitting project today. Joining in new yarn is very important if you want to change colors, or maybe halfway through your project you've run out of yarn and you need to join in a new strand. This is an example of what our final product will look like after we join in a new piece of yarn. So let's get started. One day when you're knitting, you're going to find that you need to join in a new piece of yarn, whether it's because you had to change colors, or if it's just because you ran out of the skein that you're currently working and you need to join a new ball of yarn in the same color. Either way, the joining in process will be fairly similar. There's many different methods of joining in yarn. I'm going to show you one of the simplest and one of the ways I think is the most easy to join in a new piece of yarn. So make sure you have the project that you're working on. The old yarn, make sure that you've trimmed the tail long enough to be able to weave it in later. Make sure you have your knitting needles and of course your new skein of yarn. Also, you want to make sure that if you're changing colors, you're on the back side of your work. If you change colors using this method, you can see that there'll be a little bit of overlap where you can see both colors at the same time. So in order to make it look nice on the front side like this, make sure that you're on the back of your work when you're changing in your colors. So work on the wrong side when you're joining in always. So my wrong side is just purling all the way across. Whatever your wrong side may be, make sure you follow your pattern. So when I'm joining in my yarn, I'm going to purl every stitch, but you can just follow your pattern depending on what that may be. So I'm going to go in as if to purl. And now I'm going to join my new yarn just by draping it over and using it to purl. Make sure you leave a somewhat long tail so that you can weave it in later. Now, when I'm doing the first stitch, everything can get a little bit loose. So I'm going to make sure to hold my new yarn tail, my old yarn tail, and my new working yarn all at the same time while I'm purling, just so things don't start to fall apart. There we go. And now I'm going to tighten them all up a little bit. And again, hold on to all of those and go into purl. Now I'm only going to purl with my working yarn, my new working yarn, but I'm going to hold all of them tight while I pull it back through. Just keep working in your pattern. So I'm going to continue to purl only with my working yarn. Hold them all while I pull it through, just holding everything tight. Now once you've gone a few stitches in and everything looks fairly secure, just take your new tail and your old tail, and you might want to tie them off a couple times just so that everything is secure and they don't come undone while you're knitting. Then you can weave these ends in later. Now keep purling with your working yarn, and because you just tied off your ends, they should be nice and tight so you don't actually have to worry about holding on to those tails anymore. You can just purl as normal, or follow whatever pattern you may be working on. Now that we finished that row, you can see again on the back side, you can see a little bit of both colors showing through. So you can see the white down here and then this yellowish orange color up here. However, on the other side, everything came nice and smooth with no transition colors at all. So when you're finished, you'll just have to make sure to weave in these ends, weave in this yellowish orange on this side, and then weave in your white one on the white side once that is knitted. And then you will be done. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out craft.tutsplus.com for more knitting and crafting tips and tutorials.